Hey guys, this is Dr. Colin Zhu, and thank you so much for being here with us on the Thrive Bites podcast. This is season 4, and we're so excited for you to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Colin Zhu, double boarded in family and lifestyle medicine, and I interview the best and most passionate health and wellness experts of the industry on this platform. And we talk about plant-powered living, emotional resilience, and creating a thriving mindset. And this season, we're taking it live, we're taking it on multiple platforms, and we're taking it as a Q&A discussion as well as our interviewing of our guests. So we're super stoked about this, and please remember to like and subscribe down below, and we will see you. Welcome to the next episode. So thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome to the Thrive Bites podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Colin Zhu, and thank you so much. You can be anywhere in the world and you decided to hop on in and share your time with us. And hopefully we're going to glean and learn something new and see, why our next guest is so awesome. So the next guest for today is Dr. Madeline Hardacre. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I forgot to ask her offline, but her bio is amazing. So she is a physician, board certified in gynecology and lifestyle medicine. She's also a Well Coaches certified health and wellness coach. In her practice, which is Women's Health Elevated, she is focused on coaching women to optimal health and well-being through long-term sustainable lifestyle changes. She understands the challenge of a busy family life, and with a physician husband and 3 children now in their teens and young adult age, she appreciates the struggle that unfolds when she tries to juggle schedules like everyone else, juggling plates and and family obligations while also prioritizing our health. And she works with clients to develop manageable strategies regardless of what else is going on in their life. And what I love about her is that she practices what she preaches when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle. And she is a strong advocate for benefits of a plant-based nutrition. She's an avid distance runner and ultramarathoner, and plants fuel her for all running adventures through the trails of Tahoe. So without further ado, say hi to Dr. Madeline. Hey!
Hello.
How's it going?
Very good, very good. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I knew that we were having a little bit technical difficulties, but this is, the virtual world that we live in. So, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day schedule, whatever you have going on in your life, to spend, a few moments with me and our Thrive Bites audience. So I greatly appreciate it.
You are so welcome. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here.
Number one, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, Hardacre.
Okay. So I love it. So the topic of this episode is running ultra marathons while being plant-based. And before we get into that, I convey to our audience, your bio. And wow, such a beautiful, colorful, array of skill sets, right? You got coaching, you got, OBGYN, right? You got lifestyle, you got focus on women's health, plant-based nutrition, and, your experience, which I don't know what the percentage is, maybe you know the percentage of this, is, running ultra marathons. And I can't wait to dig into that, because that has been in the lifestyle plant-based, news and movement nowadays, because I'm so excited because I just got my copy of Plant-Based Athlete by, Robert Cheek and I believe, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, and Matt Frazier. So Plant-Based Athlete. And, I'm so, so thrilled to be able to have time with you.
Thank you.
So my first question is, I love to start off by asking, the origin story, right? So, we're busy professionals, healthcare professionals, and, a majority of the people that I interview have also, these great, passionate side gigs, side hustles, co-careers, they're transitioning or they completely switched, right? So, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you started off as an OBGYN first, and I don't know how much you are still incorporating that into your current practice, but tell us from, in your own words, from point A to point B, how you got from there through lifestyle, through coaching, through, where you are right now.
Yeah. First, I'm trying to think of where to start. But yeah, in med school, I really, and it's fun because it's just so all intertwined when I think about it. Because I found in med school, my way of managing stress became through running. So it was one of those things that was cheap and inexpensive and easy to do, and I could do it anywhere. And so there was this ease to it, and it could really help me manage stress. I ultimately chose OBGYN because I really I love women's health, and so I practiced initially. I had a full practice of obstetrics and gynecology, and ultimately found that I really, for a number of reasons, gravitated to the office-based gynecology practice. So
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed spending time with my patients and working on their health in a more conservative way versus, I think in the world of gynecology, there's more of the gynecologic surgeon, and then there is the gynecologist that is looking at more conservative management of things. And I found that I really kind of gravitated to that more conservative management. And ultimately, I loved speaking lifestyle. I love nutrition. I loved, because running had been such a big part of my life, like exercise as a method of stress management, like just kind of came naturally when I was talking to my patients. Like I was always encouraging them to be active for the benefits to their mood, or, and all of a sudden a friend of mine, this was about 3 years ago, she found the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and she reached out to me and she said, "You've got to check," like she sent me the link to the website and was like, "You've got to check this out, like, because this is you." So, and honestly, like I think literally that day, like I went on the website and like I didn't come off until I had like signed up for like everything.
Oh, and that was 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago. And so it was fall of 2018. It's just like I, signed up for the courses, and like, okay, like I want to do the board certification, and I want to go to conferences. And I signed up for, I think my husband thought I was crazy for a moment. But then, yeah, I really, as I was doing that, I incorporated it into my gynecology practice. But there was still this feeling of where I was kind of struggling because I just didn't like the 15 or 20-minute office visit. I didn't want to be just writing prescriptions. I knew I could help people at a different level. And I, I kept talking to my husband about my ideal practice. And finally he was like, "Why don't you just, what are you waiting for? Like, why don't you just do it?" And it was kind of about that time that I also had found that, within the lifestyle medicine training, there is, we get some exposure to well coaches and Margaret Moore's program. And I really liked that. Like I liked kind of the psychology behind behavior change, and ultimately then took the well coaches certification after I did the ACLM certification. And so really now my practice, I don't do any gynecology. It's all very focused on kind of a health coaching for using the pillars of lifestyle medicine though.
Do you, was that something based off of that, it doesn't sound like, it was that hard to let go. Do you have any regrets about that transition at all? Oh my God, look at that face.
You know what? Like, I feel like for the first time in my life, like, I don't want to sound all like mushy because I'm not, but like for the first time in my life, like I'm practicing like in accordance with my values, like
Mm,
really like practicing the way that I want to practice, like and helping women in the way I want to help them. And so
mhm,
it actually like it feels really good.
mhm.
So I really don't have any regrets. Like, and
Oh,
I see my practice growing. It's been 18 months and went through the COVID thing initially where everything was shut down, but then, that's when
actually made it flourish, probably,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, just really helping, and it's funny because with COVID, then a lot of people, yeah, kind of reset and they were like, ooh, I really do need to take care of my health. And
Mhm.
how can I be using this time? And
It's a
um,
big wake up call. Big
absolutely.
wake up call. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, we talk about lifestyle medicine a lot, and lifestyle medicine. What she's referring to is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is a academic slash professional organization that got established like 2003.
Mhm.
And I've been a part of it personally since when I was a medical resident since 2013, and it's a fantastic group. It's kind of like one of those I don't know how you got it. It seemed like you got the same feeling I got, where you step into the room and you're like, whoa, everyone thinks and is passionate, and loves all this stuff the way I do. Like you feel kind of nerdy, you know what I'm saying? But you're like, oh, I'm with good company because everyone is geeking out about this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
and it has this like family feel that I don't get in other like organizational conferences.
It's as cold and sterile as the patient room or the operating room.
Right, and you go to any of the lifestyle medicine conferences, yeah, and what amazes me is, and I just think it's so beautiful, is just all the different specialties represented. So, it's not just primary care, it's not just cardiology, I mean, it's like I mean, that was
Yeah.
probably one of the things that shocked me. I was like, wow, there's like, orthopedic surgeons who care about lifestyle, and there's like,
Right, because it's ingrained in literally everything. So, I talk about this on other people's podcasts, but my frustration started in medical school, and it's like it's the common risk factor or the common denominator in everything. Chronic lifestyle related issues, right? It touches everything. So it's not surprising that these subspecialties that you wouldn't think would come to an academic college like that, but they do, you know what I'm saying? Because they realize that, you know what, you're Mr. Smith, your osteoarthritis. Let's just take orthopedics, right? Your osteoarthritis, if you were to lose like maybe 100 plus pounds, you probably wouldn't have gotten it at the age of 56. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so that's awesome. So another thing, you probably get this too because you said that you get to practice what you preach. It resonates with your values, right? So go down the line of how long ago did you start running, and how long ago did you do plant based?
Mhm. So, um, I I started running I grew up in like I played tennis and I swam competitively and things like that. But then, um, so I've always been kind of active. But then in med school, that's when I found when I really kind of latched on to running. Just because I was like, okay, I need something that's inexpensive because I had no money. Like I was like, I need to be able to do it just wherever I am. I need something like simple that fits with my student life. And our building had this really tiny gym that had 2 treadmills in it. And so I was like, I could go there at lunch and knock out 3 miles. So I was like, so I started using it then kind of as just a way to manage stress. And then that kind of carried on through residency, just like the 3 mile run. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I got out of residency, and yeah, and my running and my plant-based adventure kind of like are intertwined. And I came out of residency, I started running well, my stress level went way, way up when I was like a new attending.
Not surprising at all, right?
Right. So it was like, okay, like my stress is higher. My work hours didn't really get any better. Like I need more, I need to manage the stress even more. I continued to run. There was a 1 mile lap around the hospital. So like, even if I was on call and had people in labor, I could do that 1 mile lap and always be like in very close proximity to labor and delivery. So it was like,
you could just literally run back in
right, I could like
patient room or the operating room.
Right. I'd throw scrubs on over my running clothes and then voila. And so so it was, I don't know. I guess my first marathon distance was 16 years ago. So I just kind of kept running more and more and started taking on, half marathons and then full marathons.
Mm-hmm.
And about 10 years ago, I started training for my first ultra marathon.
Which is, for the audience, is what? What's the distance?
So distance is beyond a marathon. And so a marathon is 26.2 miles. So anything above and beyond that is considered an ultra. Many times they're on trails. So, many times you're taking it off the road and going onto trails. But so I had signed up for a 50K near where I lived. So that's 31 miles. And I started training and I started experiencing this thigh pain, like in the middle of my thighs. One leg was significantly worse than the other. But anyway, ultimately I was diagnosed with bilateral mid-femoral stress fractures.
Wow.
Yes.
From running, I presume.
Running. And that the look on your face is basically what the orthopedic surgeon said too. Like he was like, I've never seen this before. Like I don't really, like he was like, normally like if you had one, I would tell you no weight bearing on that leg, but literally both of your femurs have stress fractures, like in the mid femoral shaft. And so that put my running like on a halt. Obviously I wasn't going to be training for the 50K that I had signed up for. And this is where then it intertwines with my plant-based.
And that happened. So just to have that happened before you went plant-based.
Yes.
Okay.
That was before I went plant-based. So that day, literally, like I left and I went to, because I was like, of course, in my head, I was like, how am I going to handle this? Like, I have to, I have to fix this problem. And there was this conversation with the orthopedic surgeon about my bone density. Like, he was like, well, you're 40, early 40s, like your bone density should be okay, but this makes me wonder. And so I was kind of in this panic. I went to like the Barnes and Noble near my house and just was like, I want to find something on bone health and nutrition. And I knew nothing about plant-based eating at all. And the book I walked out with was the China study. And chapter 10 of the China study is like bone, brain, and kidney disease, I think are the three that are lumped together in chapter 10. But anyway, like there were like 2 pages on the role of animal protein with bone density. And literally like that book and that, like picking that book, like who knows, I could have picked up like it's just kind of crazy that like that's the book I walked out with and read. And
it's a good book to start off on.
So because it was like, it gave me all the science, which I loved. And so that started the journey. It wasn't like perfect for a while. Like there were lots of kind of like, we started I went all in first, but then it's like I kind of went like all in, and then I was living in Alabama at the time, and nothing against Alabama, but like 10 years ago in Alabama, like eating a plant-based diet was like unheard of.
Right.
You know, because they're like, you're smoking your barbecue, you're smoking your tri-tip every evening and stuff. So,
Yeah.
so you know, so I always explain to people, like, even my journey wasn't smooth initially, but ultimately, like the past, I don't know, 3.5 years or so, been um,
Okay.
very devoted to plant-based eating.
So it's a windy road, right? And it's actually very similar, except I didn't have stress fractures. When I did my first marathon, was right before I went plant-based, and for other people that probably already heard, I was training, had a lot of joint pain, bloating issues. I've already read a lot of the research already, and then I did it mostly for recovery and performance. And after I finished the race, I went full on into it, and I recovered a lot faster. The joint pain went away, and the bloating issues went away. So very, very similar parallels. And I've heard very similar stories, from other people's transitions. So when you got fully immersed into it, did your stress factor? I mean, were they healed?
So they heal. They took me away from running for like 4 months or so, and ultimately they healed. I, at that point, like I said, really changed my diet and incorporated strength training into my routine, which I was doing none of prior to that. And so,
Okay.
since that point, plant-based diet and strength training have been, very important part of my world. And then maybe about 18 months ago or so, it's like I continued to do marathons, but like I really, in the back of my head, kept like I wanted to do more. Like I always felt like I could go further than that. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
like, I never felt like I had pushed my limit with distance.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I had this belief, like, okay, well, but my body doesn't handle that. Like, and I would always go back to those stress factors. Okay, well, when I increase my mileage beyond this point, like if I got, I had it in my head that if I went more than 40 miles per week, that I wasn't going to handle it. And all of a sudden, like, I started questioning that, because I'm like, I am strength training, and my nutrition is like on point. Like, why can't I go further than that? Like,
Right.
and so kind of started playing around with those longer distances and more mileage. And I was kind of like, let me just start increasing my mileage and see what happens. And Colin, like, I can't tell you, like, I feel fantastic. Like, when I'm 10
You
years
feel
old,
like after you like ran, you're like, did I just run? Or like I can feel like,
like, really, like I used to do like a 20-mile run, and it would just wipe me out. And like I I can do that, and I can run the next day. I don't like
yeah.
not anyway.
You
And
don't have to like you don't have to sit like in a tub of like Epsom salt, or you don't have to like, well, you probably do here and there, but so what I'm getting at is that is it the main reason why you transitioned from marathon to ultra marathon is because you felt like it just wasn't enough distance for you. You felt like you could have kept going.
Mhm. Like, I like that feeling of feeling like you're you're pushing a boundary in some way, like push like that comfort.
Mm,
That I mean, I'm sure if you run marathons, you get that, like that. There's that zone where you're kind of really reaching outside of your comfort zone, and and I like that feeling. And with marathons, like I had reached a point where I felt like I had reached my boundaries with speed. Like I knew, I was like, I'm probably not ever going to go faster. But I definitely feel like I could go further. And so, like, what
wow.
could that look like? And
Right. So have you not done a race being not plant-based? So pretty much most of your running career has pretty much majority have been plant-based, correct?
Yeah, like, well, there was that kind of period of time where it was kind of off. Well, I was plant predominant, I would say. Like I
Right.
had some, like there was a family farm near us that had chickens, and so I would eat their eggs and chickens sometimes. So there was that period of time, but then the past several years it's been plant
So it
based.
wasn't overnight, it was like a transition pretty much.
Yeah, and I just
Awesome.
realized like how good I felt. Like and then on the flip side, my husband's an oncologist. He's a radiation oncologist, and so he really teaches a very plant predominant approach to eating with his oncology patients. He hasn't done
Oh,
lifestyle medicine training yet. Has done all of the reading, like everything I bring up.
wow. I gotta get him on the show.
Oh, he loves it. He would love it.
Yeah, because that's amazing because I think popularly in the fitness world it's more associated with meat, protein, where am I going to get this from with like strength training, right? But in the cardiovascular world, in the endurance world, in the long distance world, you're thinking about, how do these people last, right? Like, how do these people last? I guess one of the famous ones are, Scott Jurek, right? In that documentary, and he said that exact same thing. He was like, "How am I going to last if I'm just eating solely on plants?" I, definitely want to ask, this question of like, what do you eat, in a typical day? What I'm saying, do you have like consistent meals, or like, what's a typical day, when you're training, and what are you averaging in terms of mileage, when you're not, competing for a race, for example?
So like if just kind of like on a normal week, I would say like 30 to 40 miles a week. But then like I did a 50-mile race at the end of May. And so I went up to my highest was I hit 70 miles in 1 week and then
Mm,
tapered down. But as far as what I eat, I keep it really simple.
simple is
I
good.
Yeah, like it's I have like my things that I just like typically do for breakfast. So like oats, walnuts, berries, like every like if I vary it all, okay, I might have muesli instead. Like,
Okay.
but it's just like really consistent. I eat a can of chickpeas every day for lunch.
Okay.
I
Just like a can, like nothing else in it, or just a can?
I'll vary it like a little, like
I can imagine you just like, screwing the top, it's open, and it's like kind of like
I
Popeye, just without spinach, it's just chickpeas.
in my mind, this is how I think about it because I'm like, okay, that's great fiber, great protein right there in that can. And so, like, some days I'll roast them, some days I'll, put them with some spices in a sauce pot. Some days I just sometimes I'll do like a chickpea salad with them, but I'll get that can in kind of midday, and then for dinner it's like veggie. Like, it's always just like when I go to the produce section at the grocery store, I just buy a bunch of produce, and then I don't really follow recipes that often. Occasionally I do, but usually it's just like, okay, like I'm going to use Thai seasoning, Thai flavors tonight, or I'm going to use Mexican flavors tonight, or I'm going to use, so I just
Yeah.
vary the seasoning, and I don't know, it all just kind of works and it doesn't feel difficult.
And does your husband cook too? Like, does he mind like what you serve? Like,
No, not at all. He's come a long way because he's kind of like when like we've been married 25 years, and when we married, like he did not like want anything green or anything red or anything like with any
no
those.
colors.
We were we both grew up in Indiana, so it's kind of like meat and potatoes, or what
Right.
you have for dinner. But he's all in. In fact, yeah.
That's awesome.
He really just really like like there was never an argument or a discussion about, like, we kind of just made the decision and jointly did it. So
That's awesome. And that's what I love about, couples that support one another. Like you're a physician as well and you counsel lifestyle. Just imagine, and you probably get this too, is like something as simple as quitting smoking, right? They're so gung-ho, they're just really amped up. And then they go back to an environment where, they're not really, supported. You know what I'm saying? So it's nice to have that, significant other that supports you in your own wellness journey. So that's great.
yeah, I know, I totally agree.
So what we're going to do is that we're going to take a quick commercial break, okay? And
Sure.
then we're going to come back for the question and answer section. For those that are watching, please line up your questions and comments. We will, read them off, live and, delve, deeper into Dr. Madeline's journey. So we'll be right back. Hey guys, this is Dr. Colin Zhu, and welcome to the Thrive Formula. I'm so excited for you to be here and to be just a little curious about what we do. If you know a little bit about my work, I created TheChefDoc in January 2017, and since launching it, I've written a book about thriving and hosting my podcast called Thrive Bites, where we've reached over 90 countries and counting. It's been a humbling and unexpected experience so far. The main driving force to create TheChefDoc was born out of the need to help others to combat chronic lifestyle-related diseases such as high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, inactive physical lifestyle, and simply not being able to cook healthfully. I noticed the same paucity and deficit within our medical school education and also within our medical training across the nation. 2020 for us, like the rest of the world, gave us a new set of challenges. Even with health disparities and racial injustice, I decided to look at things from a very silver lining perspective. And that meant, how do we become more resilient as a community? How do we pivot as a human species? Do I focus on me or us? With so many different people and different walks of life, I realized that we're more similar than dissimilar. And to cultivate a thriving mindset meant a lot of self-work, self-education, and practical tools, but also in conjunction with other people. I could not be where I am without the support and foundation of others. That means right now, more than ever, we need to be unified and we need to thrive together. Therefore, I decided to create this virtual summit experience, gathering and collaborating with over 45 speakers from different parts of the health and wellness industry to inspire, educate, and teach you the tools to thrive, not just in your own life, but also to those around you. And we will do this through the 5 pillars, what I like to call my 5 to thrive. Food as medicine, functional fitness, relationships, community, and resilience. I'm beyond ecstatic for you to be here, and the only question I would ask is, do you dare to choose to thrive in your own life? If you do, then come on in, let's learn together, and I'll see you inside. Thank you very much. All right. So, what I love, you're able to hear me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the coaching, right? So you have your own practice, you have a coaching practice. For those that are not familiar, take us through and a couple, maybe some definitions, like how's it different than, traditionally and how we were taught from a doctor-patient type of relationship, type of counseling session versus, coaching. And this could, I guess, maybe be like an umbrella term for like life coaching, health coaching. Like, how would you make those distinctive for us?
Yeah, actually, that is a great question. And I think it really gets kind of to the root of what I love about it. I view traditional medicine as, like, if I have on my medical hat, then it's me kind of maybe explaining a disease process or something to a patient and saying, okay, this is what you need to do about it. And I kind of feel like it's kind of very focused on like my agenda of what they should do. And with coaching, I always start off with really exploring very deeply with the women that I work with, like what they're looking for their health and their well being. Like in really exploring their vision of what that means to them. And then identifying paths to get there, but it's very much working on what, exploring those values that they have. Like, and I guess for a long time, like I kind of always assumed, like there were some things that I assumed that I shouldn't have when I practiced medicine. Like I always kind of assumed that like what I thought was important was like going to be important to the patient, or that I assumed that like okay, everybody wants this like long, healthy, very active life, and you know when you start talking to people and looking at and helping them identify like what is important to them and what like developing that really like a lot of clarity around that, and getting into the why it's important because like when we start thinking about behavior change, I think our behaviors are driven by our emotions. And when we start really, first of all, looking at what we want and then exploring why we want it, like, why do we want this healthier life? And getting down to like the really deep reasons why,
Yeah.
then that elicits a lot of emotion. Like, and people start going, okay, like, yeah, this is why I want it. And then they feel that that emotion starts helping them drive those behavior changes and helping them change different actions in their lives. And so that's where I feel like coaching's different, is because we're getting
Hmm.
into that part of their life. And the other important thing is instead of me just telling people, okay, like this is what you should eat, then it's looking at, okay, well, we have your vision of what you want your health to look like. We have some ideas of what that eating would look like, but how can this fit into your life, like your current life, which is then this whole other like thing to explore because we all have like some of us have really complicated lives, and some of my patients are like caregivers to elderly parents and have no time for themselves, and like so helping them find ways to improve their lifestyle that work in their current situation.
Right, right. And all of that, is very, to me, they're very different, because, I've done health coaching on the side as well. And it involves, very three different, aspects. Like one, it allows us to listen more, right?
Mhm.
Just because, two, you have more time with them, right?
Right.
And it's huge. A lot of people, I think people who are patients, right, in a doctor-patient relationship would probably, see this, but it is very physician, driven in terms of the actual session versus, in a coach in my eyes is really an advocate, for that client. We call them clients. And it's kind of like, we're your cheerleaders, what I'm saying? And whatever you have in mind, which is your goal, you said it beautifully, is your health goals, your wellness goals, we will help you, make it happen to the best of our ability, and we're working together. And I would say the fourth biggest difference, in my eyes, is that it's a very two-way street. You know what I'm saying? And it's just that's because in a coaching practice we're able to create our own infrastructure, whereas a doctor patient relationship, unfortunately, we're very we just kind of succumb to corporate healthcare where everything needs to be very parameter based, volume based, metric based. Everything is just numbers and statistics, including how much time you have with them. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't really leave us much wiggle room to be able to help someone, right?
Right. It doesn't. And that's, that's really kind of the heart of why I just really feel very comfortable with leaving my traditional medicine practice and doing what I'm doing, is because I really do like that time with people. I like having that time and letting them, as you said, like listening as they explore their own, like working off of their own agenda and the goals and the values and the things that are important to them versus, me.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times, a patient, because I apply the same principles, in a doctor-patient relationship. I'm like, hey, Mr. Smith, what are your wellness goals? What do you want to accomplish with your health? And the reactions are very similar. They're just very perplexed on, why I would ask them what they want, right? It's like, wait a second, it's like, wait a second, you want to know what I want?
Right.
So it's shifting. It's a little bit of shift of dynamics. And I think coaching, whether you are a physician coach, whether you are a health coach, life coach, I just think that wherever you can see one, wherever you can hire one, wherever you can just apply it, as much as you can. So, so I thank you for, what you do. So your main demographics or your population, who do you mainly serve, or who do you mainly like come through your virtual door?
I think because, probably a little combination of my age, which I'm 51, and my experience of spending 20 years as a gynecologist. I do feel like probably 90% of the women I see are in the 40s, are in their 40s and 50s. And it's funny, like a lot of times they kind of come in with a weight loss goal or I guess I would say there's kind of two different types of women. One is somebody who is kind of all of a sudden hit their 50s and all of a sudden they've always been very health conscious. They've done everything they thought they were supposed to do, and they hit menopause, and all of a sudden it's like their world is turned upside down. And so they aren't terribly unhealthy or anything, but it's just all of their tools that they've used previously all of a sudden aren't working. And so they're, just trying to sort that out. And then there's also those women that just kind of maybe have always their priority has been on raising their family and their career and everything else, and haven't really had themselves and their health as a priority. And now it's catching up with them a bit, so all of a sudden they're getting the diagnoses of, they're pre-diabetic, or they have hypertension, or they,
catching up and, lack of self-care and prioritizing oneself.
They're like, I have to prioritize myself now. I'm like, what? And I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to do this. And so that's kind of the other population I work with a lot. So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, that leaves a lot of room in that type of dynamic to be able to help with that, right? You have the infrastructure, it's your own practice, you have more time. And, you've been through the gamut in terms of, the medical part of it. And now it's just really, using your own personal experiences and that professional experience, and you're, a great, shoo-in to be able to help the population that you're serving. So definitely that's awesome. My next question is, for someone that's, a marathoner, an ultra marathoner, people that are watching, I think it was episode 3. We had 2 female physicians. One of them was a running coach. And
I actually listened to that during one of my runs. Michelle.
Michelle Quirk.
Michelle.
Yeah. You should definitely reach out to her. She's a gem. So, hi Michelle. My question is for you is that how do you stay motivated, during your trainings, right? So we speak a lot about getting started, and beginning, and what is the best things to start, right? But for those that are, probably have had some experience, in their belt, right? How do you stay motivated? What are some like, just more essential tools that you've gathered over years, that, to keep you going in that fashion, besides, I feel great. I can keep going. It's almost like you ingested a Energizer bag.
I mean, first of all, recognizing, and I talk to my clients about this all the time, but recognizing like the motivation won't always be there. Like, so they're like accepting the fact that sometimes you're going to do something that feels exceptionally hard because you have no motivation and you're just going to do it anyway. So recognizing that aspect of it, like not expecting, because some people say, well, I would exercise more, but I'm so unmotivated. Like I'm waiting to be motivated. Like they're looking for that motivation. And okay, sometimes we just do it even when we're not motivated. Like sometimes you start doing it and then you get motivated. So recognizing that. I also think like just goals are so powerful. Like having a big goal, like so with my running, like what keeps me, sorry, my printer is going off. But with running, like I found like I'm much more consistent when I know what I'm working on. And I have that big goal, and then I set weekly goals. And I found what works for me best is to do it by minutes, like how many minutes I'm going to be out there running. And that allows me flexibility to like, okay, well, I might go super slow today, but I'm still going to do it. And, be out there for 60 minutes or whatever it is. The other, sorry, my daughter's now in here.
Your dog?
My daughter. Apparently she was
your daughter.
Anyway, sorry. But also, finding other people to inspire you, like finding your people, I think also helps with that motivation. Like if you're trying to work on, say you want to, increase your running or something, just finding other people to do it with, other people that have similar goals, or listening to people that are inspiring, that help you get, so I do a lot of that.
So it sounds like accountability partner, and then maybe listening to an inspiring like podcasts.
And I just think there's I don't have like a big running group here where I live now, but in the past I've had that aspect where I had like a group of women that I ran with. And I just think that's incredibly powerful because that accountability, and also like there's just that, like we're just more courageous and more willing to like push ourselves a little bit more when we're in that group setting and have the support of other people doing it too.
Right. Nice. I would say, we're going to close out here. A lot of what we're talking about, really is the center point of behavior changes, right? You start out with lifestyle medicine. You've been practicing that. You've been teaching and preaching that. You have a coaching practice. What would you say would be like your top 3 like takeaways, or tips or anything, or just, points, that you've gleaned and learned about behavior change over this period of time and study for yourself?
I think it goes back to when I was talking about like working with clients on that vision of their health. And I think for behavior change, so frequently, like when I first meet with people, what they want is very vague in their minds. They don't really, they haven't really sat down and talked through like exactly what they want and exactly what it looks like, and developed that clarity around it. And there's a coach who Marie Forleo, she says wishy-washy goals get wishy-washy results. And so I use that term all the time because I'm like, we need to like clearly know, when we give our brain that clear vision of what we want, then we're just more apt to like make the decisions on a daily basis to make it happen. But when it's really vague in our minds, then we do, like, it's really easy to not make the best decisions when we don't really know what we're looking for. So, I think that's a big one. The other thing that I work with my clients a lot on, and I think is just really important, is not expecting perfection. And when the goal is developing really sustainable long-term lifestyle changes, like shooting for perfection is not going to get you there. But if you look at, okay, well, kind of what does the A- B+ work look like? I have a client who shows up like every month to this monthly chat that I do, and she always says she's the B+ plant-based eater, and so, she's.
Wow, I didn't know there was a grading system. I gotta know about this.
But just not expecting like absolute perfection, and which makes it, because it's like, well, what would you try to do if you knew it didn't have to be perfect? And all of a sudden, people start really opening up to like their minds to a lot of different changes they would be willing to make if they could do it in a, like, without feeling like perfection had to be part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think to your first point, there's something that we learn in coaching is, writing out, your SMART goals, right? And SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. I believe I got that.
You got it.
Yeah, and the thing is that you have to break it down, and I think that's wonderful how you have that, because sometimes we dream up of these lavish goals, right? And then that turns into an expectation, and we're seeking perfection, and it's too high. It's like Mount Everest, when what you're advocating is, it's not that Mount Everest is impossible, and over time we've proven this to be true, that we can conquer it. But it's more about how do we do the little hills, leading up to that, right? And it's more important to do the hills and conquering those than just achieving Mount Everest overnight.
But and then it's like, it's impossible to meet those little, or to accomplish those little hills when we don't know like the direction we want to go. So it's like combining those two of the little baby steps, but knowing the direction you want those little baby steps to take you. And so
right. Yeah. For those that know me, I always talk about, the 1%. I just want you to do 1% better than what you were yesterday.
Right.
Whether it's be better, do better, so
that's so hard for people to like wrap their head around sometimes. As they have to go. They're looking for like really big, sexy goals. And I was like, no, like just little things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another point, and I think you would agree with me, is really like separating, what are your goals versus what other people's goals that you think are your goals, right? Like whether society, and that includes TV, magazines, social media nowadays, and maybe family and friends. Maybe you are more attached to what other people have of you. And then over time, you just realize, that's not really what I've wanted all along.
Right. Well, and like recently I saw a client, she came to me for weight loss. And then when we really started talking about why she wanted to lose weight, she wanted to lose weight to feel better about herself. And so then we're like, so that was ultimately what she really wanted, was she really wanted to feel better about herself, not, and she actually didn't have that much weight to lose. So we can, I can help you feel better about yourself without you losing a pound.
Yeah, exactly. And
it took asking those questions,
Right. And what's beautiful about a coaching practice is because you have the time to do that. It's almost near impossible to do this in a doctor's visit. You know what I'm saying? So, Dr. Madeline, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, I want to, any closing remarks, and where can people find you if they are interested in your services?
Oh, yes. Women's Health Elevated, and my website's womenshealthelevated.com. I am on Instagram as Women's Health Elevated, and Facebook Women's Health Elevated, and so you can find me on any of those platforms.
Nice. Definitely check her out, there soon. And do you have an upcoming race coming down the pike?
I do. I have a big goal for 2022 because I have a particular 100 miler that I would like to.
And that you haven't done 100 miler yet?
I've not done 100 miles.
Oh man. Man.
So there'll be some things to lead up to that, but that's kind of the 2022 goal. So.
Well, we can't wait to, see you and hear about it, at the finish line. So Dr. Madeline, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for spending the time and doing what you do, currently, because you just ooze so much passion from yourself, and, I'm sure people greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much watching this episode, and please follow us and subscribe to the channel, and let someone else know. And if you gain benefit from it, please, I'm sure someone else would like to gain benefit as well. So we will see you next week, and please say goodbye to Dr. Madeline.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Guys, thank you so much for watching that episode. We hope you enjoy it. And please remember to like and subscribe down below so you can get continuous updates for future episodes and future guests. And we can't wait for this upcoming season. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.